You're joining us for the deep dive, and today we're diving headfirst into something I know is on a lot of our minds, the never-ending battle with clutter. We're
Mm.
not just talking about, a messy countertop. We're going deep into the KonMari method, the philosophy behind Marie Kondo's, the life-changing magic of tidying up.
That's right. And this isn't just about quick tips for organizing a drawer, is it?
No.
Kondo's promise is much bigger. It's a fundamental shift, really, in your relationship with your belongings
Hmm?
that she claims can ultimately transform your life.
It's a pretty bold claim.
It is. And I know some of you might be thinking, yeah, right, I've tidied before, and it always comes back.
Oh, definitely. The rebound.
That's the rebound effect, exactly. And it's something Kondo aims to solve for good.
Absolutely. We've all felt that frustration, haven't we? The mess just, well, returning. But what makes Kondo's approach so different?
Well, for starters, this isn't just casual advice she's giving
Yeah.
out. This is based on years and years of experience. Apparently, her tidying consultations had like a 3-month waiting list.
Which is already pretty wild.
Yeah. But here's where it gets really interesting for you, the listener. Her repeater rate was zero.
Zero.
Zero. Think about that. People went through her process and supposedly never needed her services again.
Wow. Okay, that suggests a real lasting change is actually possible then.
What's fascinating here, and what should really resonate with you, is that zero repeater rate. It's not a typical business model, is it?
Not at all.
But it speaks volumes about the potential effectiveness
Right.
and maybe the finality of her method.
So, our mission in this deep dive for you, our listeners, is to extract those key insights.
Exactly. We want to understand why your past hiding efforts might have fizzled out
Hmm.
and how you might be able to achieve a sense of order that truly sticks,
Yeah.
like a once-in-a-lifetime transformation, perhaps.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Why is it so darn hard to keep our homes in order? It feels like something we should just, know how to do, right?
Yeah, you'd think so.
We get lessons for cooking, maybe sewing, even car maintenance sometimes. But when was the last time you saw a class on how to tidy effectively?
That raises a really important point for you to consider, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Why is something so fundamental to our daily comfort often treated as like an innate skill?
Right.
Most of us probably have memories of being told off for a messy room.
Oh, yeah.
But how many of us were actually taught how to effectively declutter and organize?
Hmm. Probably not many.
It seems the assumption is that just by living in a space, we'll somehow, absorb the secrets of tidiness.
But Kondo's book really challenges that head on. She talks about clients, even older homemakers who had been tidying, quote unquote, for decades,
Right.
still struggling with just overwhelming clutter. Years of doing something doesn't necessarily mean you're doing it right, does it?
Precisely. As Kondo explains it, many people have spent years applying what she calls these erroneous conventional approaches.
Okay.
They're sort of stuck in cycles of ineffective storage and never truly address the root cause, which is having too much stuff they don't need or, crucially, love. They've never been given a truly effective system to follow, something that could create lasting change for you.
It's interesting looking at Kondo's own background, too. Even as a kid, she was apparently totally absorbed by home and lifestyle magazines, things like ESSE and Orange Page.
Yeah, Japanese magazines. And she wasn't just flipping through. She was like devouring stain removal tips and organizing ideas.
So it sounds like this wasn't just a passing interest for her.
No, definitely not. What's fascinating here, and it offers a glimpse into her future approach, is how early this focus on order developed. She wasn't just passively reading.
Mm-hmm.
She was actively engaging with these concepts, even creating her own little games around saving energy and water and experimenting with organizing using everyday stuff like milk cartons and video cases.
Huh.
It just illustrates this lifelong curiosity and a real dedication to the principles of order, something you can now benefit from.
And then there was this pivotal moment in junior high, right? She stumbled upon a book called The Art of Discarding by Nagisa Tatsumi,
Yes.
and it had this huge impact. 8 bags of stuff gone after reading that book. That sounds almost revolutionary for a teenager.
It really does. That moment, which should resonate with anyone feeling overwhelmed by their possessions, highlights a crucial shift in her thinking. The fundamental importance of, well, getting rid of the unnecessary.
Right.
It was a direct catalyst for her own deep dive into the world of tidying. But as she recounts, her initial attempts weren't always smooth sailing. Remember her trying to discard just one item a day?
Oh, yeah, that didn't last long, did it?
No. She quickly realized that one item a day was like trying to bail out a leaky boat with a teacup,
Mm, good analogy.
especially when new things kept coming in. It's a relatable struggle for you, isn't it? That feeling of constantly playing catch up with the clutter monster.
Totally.
And this illustrates a key point for you.
Uh-huh.
A slow, gradual approach often fails because the influx of new items just outpaces the decluttering.
Like trying to empty the bathtub with a teaspoon while the tap's still running.
Exactly. You need a more decisive approach to see real results.
And then there's the whole storage trap. We see a mess, and our first instinct is often, okay, I need more bins, more shelves. We think that's the answer.
Mm-hmm. The quick fix.
But Kondo argues that storage alone doesn't solve the clutter problem. It just kind of sweeps it under the rug, so to speak.
Exactly right. Storage solutions can create the illusion of order for a little while, sure.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they just conceal unwanted items. And sooner or later, those storage units overflow, the clutter returns,
And you buy more storage.
leading to the purchase of even more storage in this never-ending cycle. Kondo's firm stance, and a crucial takeaway for you, is that tidying must begin with discarding, not organizing what you don't need.
Okay, discarding first. That leads to one of her core principles. Sort by category, not by location.
Yes.
This sounds simple, but it's a real shift in how most of us think about tidying, isn't it? Tell us more about why this is so important for us.
Well, what's fascinating here, and it was a real aha moment for Kondo herself,
Mm-hmm.
was her personal experience.
Oh.
She recounts her early attempts at tidying by
Mhm.
location. One day the living room, the next the bedroom, and so on.
Yeah, sounds logical.
But then she had this realization that she was repeatedly sorting the same types of items in different places,
Ah, okay.
like makeup samples in the bathroom, but also some in a drawer in the bedroom, maybe some in her handbag.
Right. So for you, the listener, this means you might be dealing with the same sweaters in like 3 different closets.
Precisely. It sounds incredibly inefficient, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You're essentially doing the same work over and over again without ever getting a true sense of how much you actually own of one thing.
How can you possibly decide what to keep if you don't even know the full extent of your, say, t-shirt collection?
Exactly. By category gathering all your clothing from every single corner of the house and putting it in one giant pile, for instance,
Hmm.
you force yourself to confront the sheer volume.
A pile of shame.
Huh? Maybe. But it makes it much easier for you to see the duplicates, the things you've totally forgotten about, and ultimately to decide what to keep and what to discard.
Now, what about the idea of tailoring your tidying method to your personality? We see that advice a lot online, right? Are you a messy person? Try this trick. Or busy, here's a quick decluttering hack. But Kondo seems to push back against this idea for you.
That's right. While it might seem logical, to tailor methods to different personality types, Kondo actually concluded it's more effective to categorize people by their actions related to tidying.
Actions like what?
Like those who just can't seem to throw things away, those who can't put things back where they belong, and those who struggle with both.
And which is most common?
Interestingly, she found that the vast majority fall into that last category. Can't throw away and can't put back. So for you, the underlying challenge might be more universal than you think.
Okay. So regardless of whether you think of yourself as a naturally organized person or a perpetually messy one, the fundamental principle remains the same for achieving lasting order.
Exactly. Kondo stresses that tidying must begin with discarding for everyone. Once that principle is grasped and you start to develop that spark joy intuition we'll talk about, the specific way you implement the system will naturally adapt to your individual circumstances and the level of tidiness you desire. But that initial focus on discarding is non-negotiable for you to see real change.
And she also makes a really important distinction between daily tidying, the stuff we do regularly, hopefully, and what she calls special event tidying. Can you break that down for us? What's the significance for us?
This is a crucial distinction for you to understand. Daily tidying refers to the everyday act of putting things back after you use them. Hanging after coat, putting dishes in the dishwasher.
Basic maintenance.
Right. That's a habit we all need to cultivate to maintain a baseline level of order. But the special event tidying that Kondo advocates is a one-time, intense effort to completely put your house in order, category by category.
It's time.
That's the goal. The real magic for you, she argues, is to successfully conclude this once-in-a-lifetime task so that you're no longer constantly battling clutter with daily tidying in a space that feels more like a storage unit than a home.
Okay, so the key for us is this intense, complete discarding process. Why is that so important for achieving long-term success and avoiding that dreaded rebound effect we talked about earlier?
Well, the intensity and the completeness of the discarding process
Hmm.
creates such a profound and noticeable change in your environment.
Okay.
It's such a significant shift that you physically and mentally feel like you're living in a completely different world. This deep impact on your mindset fosters a strong aversion, supposedly, to reverting back to the cluttered state.
Whereas just doing a little bit here and there doesn't have that same punch.
Exactly. A gradual piecemeal approach simply doesn't have the same transformative effect on you.
Okay. Now, before you even start thinking about what to get rid of, Kondo emphasizes the importance for you of visualizing your ideal lifestyle. It's not enough to just say, I want a clean house. That sounds pretty vague.
Exactly. Vague goals like clutter-free are insufficient for you. You need to create a really vivid and detailed mental picture of how you want to live in your space.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, she shares the example of a client who envisioned a feminine lifestyle, but she got specific. A clear floor, a pink bedspread, maybe aromatherapy diffusing, classical music playing.
Ah, okay, so really painting the picture.
Yes. This level of concreteness provides a clear target and, importantly, motivation for your tidying efforts. What does your ideal, joyful home look and feel like? That's the question for you.
It's about focusing on what you want to keep and cherish, rather than just what you want to banish. That was actually a turning point for Kondo herself in her own journey, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely. She recounts her own deep frustration with constantly tidying, yet still feeling surrounded by clutter, just spinning her wheels.
Mm.
And it was during this period of personal struggle that she had the crucial realization that focusing solely on the negative, what to discard, can actually bring unhappiness. The real key for you is to shift your focus to the positive, what you want to keep, and to truly value and cherish those items that bring you joy.
And that's where the now famous KonMari question comes in. Does this spark joy?
The big one.
It sounds almost whimsical, doesn't it? But it's apparently the very core of her method for helping you decide what stays and what goes.
It is deceptively simple.
Hmm.
But according to Kondo, it's the most direct and accurate yardstick for you to decide what to keep. It's about engaging with each item on an emotional level, paying attention to your physical reaction.
Physical reaction.
Yeah, like do you feel a lift, a lightness?
Yeah.
So trusting your own intuition. Does it make you feel good? Does it bring a little spark of happiness? If not, then it's a candidate for discarding.
We touched on this earlier, but it's worth really drilling down for you. Kondo is absolutely firm about tidying by category, not location.
Absolutely non-negotiable.
And for clothing, the very first category, she recommends gathering absolutely every single piece of clothing you own from every corner of your house, closets, drawers, laundry baskets, under the bed,
Everywhere.
and putting it in one enormous pile. That sounds overwhelming for us.
It is. And it's kind of meant to be a bit shocking for you,
Okay.
but it's absolutely essential for understanding the true volume of your possessions within that category. Most people just don't store similar items together consistently.
Right, like the t-shirt example.
Exactly. You might have t-shirts in your dresser, some in a gym bag, others maybe in a box in the attic. Tidying by location allows you to remain sort of blissfully unaware of the sheer quantity you've accumulated.
Mm.
That giant pile forces you to confront reality and make more informed decisions about what truly brings you joy and what's just, well, taking up space in your life.
Now, beyond the obvious physical value of things, what are some of the underlying reasons that make it so hard for us to let go of our possessions? It's not just about waste, is it?
No, not at all. Kondo identifies several powerful factors that can make discarding difficult for you. There's function, that feeling that, oh, I might still need this, or I could use it someday.
The just-in-case items.
The just-in-case trap, yes.
Mm.
Then there's information like old notes, manuals, documents that you think might be important, even if you haven't looked at them in years.
Okay.
And perhaps the strongest one is emotional attachment. Those items tied to memories, people, past versions of ourselves.
Yeah, that's tough.
Very tough. And when you combine these with a feeling of rarity, the idea that something might be hard or impossible to replace the difficulty of discarding just multiplies significantly for you.
And she recommends a very specific order for tackling these categories, doesn't she, to kind of ease us into it?
Yes, a very specific order. Clothes first, then books, then papers, then kimono.
Kimono, what's that exactly?
Kimono is basically miscellany. It's kind of a catch-all for everything else: kitchen gadgets, toiletries, office supplies, hobby materials, CDs, electronics. Think of it as all the other stuff in your home.
Gotcha. So clothes, books, papers, kimono.
And finally, the notoriously difficult category, mementos, sentimental items.
Okay. Why that particular order for us?
It's specifically designed to help you, the tidier, hone your decision-making skills, your spark joy intuition.
Right.
Clothes are generally the easiest because their sentimental value is often lower, and you can usually clearly see what you wear and what you don't. Their rarity is low.
Mm-hmm.
Sentimental items, on the other hand, carry the heaviest emotional weight and are often completely unique. So it's best to tackle them last when you've built up your confidence and are much better at discerning what truly matters to you now.
That makes perfect sense for us. You're essentially training your discarding muscle, right?
Right.
Practicing on the easier categories before you have to face the really tough emotional decisions.
Exactly.
Now, here's a point that some people might find a little controversial, maybe. Kondo advises against letting your family members see the items you're in the process of discarding. What's the reasoning behind this for you?
Yeah, this can raise eyebrows,
Yeah.
but it stems from the very practical reality that others' values and attachments will likely differ from your own.
Okay.
She shares an anecdote about a client, M, whose mother started pulling perfectly good items, in her view, out of M's discard pile, completely derailing her progress.
Oh, no.
It highlights how even well-intentioned family members can inadvertently sabotage your efforts because they have a different sense of what's valuable or necessary, or they feel guilty about waste.
So what does she suggest?
Kondo even suggests, perhaps with a bit of tongue-in-cheek practicality, secretly removing discards from the house if necessary.
She really?
If necessary,
Well,
just to avoid these conflicts and stay focused on your own joy assessment.
it sounds a little sneaky, I have to admit.
It does.
But I can definitely see the logic for you. It's ultimately your personal tidying journey, and you need to be empowered to make your own decisions without external pressure or guilt trips from others.
Precisely. And interestingly, Kondo also shares her own past experience of secretly discarding some of her family members' belongings,
Oh, really?
and then coming to a deeper understanding of her own hoarding tendencies through that. It's like the tidying process forces you to really confront your own relationship with possessions, not just other people's.
That's fascinating. And she says something interesting happens when you fully tidy your own space, right? Something about how you view other people's mess.
Yes. What's truly fascinating here for you is that going through this intense and personal tidying process often leads to an unexpected and positive side effect, an increased tolerance for others' untidiness.
Really? How so?
Once you've created a space that truly brings you joy and reflects your values, the urge to control or judge others' belongings often diminishes significantly. You've achieved your own peace, your own order, and you become less concerned with how others manage their spaces.
That's a surprising benefit. She also touches on the tricky topic of gifting unwanted items. You know, we often think we're being helpful by passing things on to friends or family.
Right. Decluttering responsibly.
Yeah. But Kondo offers a different perspective for us on this.
Yes, she shares this insightful story about giving clothes to her sister, thinking she was doing a good deed, being helpful,
No.
only to later realize through her work with a client named Kay, who had a wardrobe full of unwanted hand-me-downs, that these items can actually burden the recipient.
How so?
Well, the recipient might feel obligated to keep or use something they don't truly like, simply out of politeness or a sense of obligation.
Ah, the guilt factor.
It just transfers the guilt of discarding. And ultimately, the unwanted item remains in someone's life, just not yours. It's a good reminder for you that the most thoughtful thing is often to just let go of what doesn't bring you joy, rather than passing that obligation on to someone else.
Okay, so the crucial takeaway from this whole discarding phase for us is be honest with ourselves. Really tune into that spark joy feeling, however weird it sounds at first. And don't let external pressures or misplaced guilt derail our progress. Now, once we've gone through this sometimes challenging process and dramatically reduced our belongings, it's finally time to think about storing what's left.
The fun part for some.
And Kondo has some very specific and, again, often surprisingly simple ideas about this, starting with the foundational principle of designating a specific place for absolutely everything we decide to keep.
This is absolutely fundamental for you. An item without a designated home is far, far more likely to end up contributing to clutter again. It just floats around.
Right.
Kondo emphasizes that this only needs to be done once after the discarding process is complete. Once everything has a place, putting things back becomes much easier and more intuitive, helping you maintain that hard-earned order.
And she's crystal clear on this point for us. Discard first, then and only then should you think about storage. Don't rush out and buy a bunch of fancy containers before you've truly confronted your excess belongings.
Exactly. The amount of storage space you already have in your home is usually sufficient once you've honestly removed all the unnecessary items.
Really, most people feel they don't have enough storage.
That's the common feeling. But she even mentions the common initial reaction to a significantly decluttered space is often, wow, the room looks so bare.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
But she argues that this feeling is often a sign that you've finally achieved a true sense of spaciousness and calm. Not that you need to fill it up again with more things or more storage solutions.
She also challenges some common storage advice that many of us have probably heard. Things like flow planning, putting things where you use them most, and storing items based on frequency of use. What's her take on that for us?
Kondo actually advocates for ultimate simplicity and visibility in storage for you. Complicated strategies and overthinking where things should go can actually make it harder to remember what you own and where it is.
Mm-hmm.
She even shares a cautionary tale about a failed turntable storage solution she tried that ended up being more cumbersome than helpful because it didn't truly consider the nature of the items being stored. The simpler the system, the easier it is for you to maintain. Keep it simple.
Yeah. Simplicity and visibility. Okay. And she advises against scattering storage spaces all over the house, which I know many of us are guilty of. A box of this in the attic, a drawer of that in the basement.
Yes, guilty as charged sometimes. She strongly recommends concentrating your belongings by category, ideally in one main spot per person within a household.
One spot per person.
Ideally, yeah. This makes it easier for you to keep track of what you have and prevents things from getting lost or forgotten in various corners of your home. She even draws a connection between maybe not having a designated personal space as a child and potential difficulties with tidying as an adult,
Interesting psychological link.
highlighting the importance of having a sort of sanctuary for your belongings.
It's interesting that she really downplays the need for expensive commercial storage items that we see advertised everywhere. What does she recommend we use instead in our homes?
Well, Kondo herself apparently uses very simple and readily available storage solutions.
Mm-hmm.
Clear plastic drawers, some cardboard drawers she's had since junior high,
Seriously, cardboard drawers.
apparently, and a basic rattan basket. She emphasizes for you that you don't need anything fancy or expensive to achieve organized storage.
Okay.
In fact, she's a big proponent of repurposing things you already have,
Mm-hmm.
and she specifically champions the humble, empty shoebox.
Shoe boxes. Tell me more.
She sees them as incredibly versatile and obviously cost-effective storage dividers and organizers for pretty much everything. Socks and underwear in your drawers, kitchen supplies, craft materials on shelves, endless uses.
Shoe boxes. Who knew they held such organizational power for us? What about storing things like bags? Handbags, tote bags.
Yeah.
They can often become a jumbled mess, can't they?
Oh yeah, her method for bags is quite specific and practical for you. She says nest them within each other by type clutches with clutches, totes with totes.
Okay.
Then maybe by material and frequency of use,
Mhm.
always ensuring the straps are visible so you can easily identify what you need without rummaging.
Right, so you can see them at a glance.
Exactly. And she strongly cautions against stuffing bags with off-season items, like scarves or gloves,
Why is that? Seems efficient.
because you're likely to forget what's inside, and you end up not using those items anyway, out of sight, out of mind.
True.
And a crucial daily habit she recommends for you is emptying your bag every single day.
Every day. Really?
Every day, and giving each item inside a designated place. This prevents the accumulation of unnecessary receipts, random papers, old wrappers,
Yeah.
all that clutter that can quickly weigh you down.
That makes sense. And for those larger items that tend to just sit on the floor and take up valuable space, like suitcases, golf clubs, maybe larger kitchen appliances, where do they belong for us?
Those items, according to Kondo, belong tucked away in the closet.
In the closet, even big things.
Yep. She encourages you to view a Japanese-style closet, especially not just as a hanging rod and a shelf, but almost as a small room in itself.
Huh?
Utilize drawers, shelves, other internal organizers to keep these bulky items neatly contained and off the floor.
What about those common areas that can easily become catch-alls, like the bathroom counter and the kitchen sink area? Are those considered acceptable storage zones for us?
Definitely not in Kondo's view. Big no-no.
Okay.
She strongly discourages storing things in the immediate vicinity of the bath and kitchen sink. Even everyday items like seasonings in the kitchen, salt, pepper, oils, should ideally be put away in their designated storage cabinets or drawers rather than being left cluttering the countertops.
It's all about creating that sense of visual calm and order for you, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Reducing visual noise.
She even suggests making the top shelf of your bookcase a personal shrine. That's a rather unique idea for our listener.
It is, isn't it? She draws a parallel to Shinto shrine etiquette, suggesting you use that top shelf as a special place for effective charms and talismans.
Effective ones.
Yeah, she reminds us that these items typically have a limited period of effectiveness, often around a year, and should then be respectfully returned to the appropriate religious site. It's a way for you to bring a sense of mindfulness and intention even to your bookshelf.
And for a little personal joy, even in hidden spaces, she suggests decorating the inside of your closet with secret delights. What are those?
Things you love, but might not necessarily want on public display. Maybe some photos, a favorite scarf you don't wear often, a pretty box.
Ah, like creating a little personal sanctuary inside the closet.
Exactly. It's all about nurturing your joy in your own private spaces.
Okay. And one last very practical storage tip for us.
Yes, she stresses the importance of immediately unpacking and removing tags from any new clothes you bring into your home. Don't let them linger in the bag.
Why is that so crucial?
It prevents them from being forgotten in their packaging and just taking up unnecessary space, becoming part of the clutter pile before you've even worn them. She even shares a story about someone's father who had unknowingly stockpiled numerous packaged socks and sweaters,
Oh, dear.
illustrating how easily these things can accumulate if not dealt with immediately. Treat new items with respect right away.
Okay. So, after this intense process of discarding and the thoughtful act of storing, what's the ultimate payoff for us? Kondo claims that this whole process dramatically transforms your life, not just your home. That's a pretty big promise.
It is a big promise. And this is where the deeper significance, the magic as she calls it, truly comes in for you. Kondo explains that tidying is far more than just decluttering your physical space.
Right.
It's a profound process of examining your inner self, your values, and the history of the decisions reflected in the possessions you've accumulated over time. It's like an archaeological dig of your own life choices.
Wow. She talks about a magic effect of tidying, including a surprising increase in confidence and decision-making. How does that seemingly unrelated benefit manifest for us? How does tidying make you more decisive?
Well, by repeatedly asking yourself that fundamental question, does this spark joy for hundreds, maybe thousands of items?
Mm-hmm.
And then making a clear decision based on that feeling, either to keep it or to let it go, you naturally hone your ability to discern what you truly value and what no longer serves you.
Okay, practice makes perfect.
Exactly. This newfound confidence in your own judgment, developed through countless small decisions about your belongings, can then surprisingly extend to other areas of your life, making you more decisive in general.
And she also suggests that the difficulty we often experience in discarding items, that hesitation,
Yeah,
can actually reveal deeper underlying attachments to the past or perhaps anxieties about the future that are holding us back in other ways too.
exactly. Understanding these underlying emotional patterns.
Mm.
Why is it so hard for you to let go of that old university textbook or those clothes that don't fit? Understanding that can provide valuable insights into your motivations
Mm.
and help guide your choices in all aspects of your life, maybe your relationships, your career aspirations. Tidying becomes a form of self-reflection for you.
It's quite astonishing to hear about the sheer volume of things people often discard during this process. You mentioned 8 bags for her as a teen, but for adults.
Oh, it could be dozens, even hundreds of bags for some clients,
Yeah.
apparently. Even from homes that might have appeared relatively uncluttered on the surface.
Wow. And Kondo emphasizes that almost universally, people never actually regret getting rid of the things that didn't spark joy for them.
That's what she claims. The average amount discarded can be staggering, yet the overwhelming feedback from those who have completed the Kanhari process is one of profound relief, liberation, and a sense of lightness.
Hmm.
People come to realize they've been living surrounded by a surprising number of things they didn't truly need, use, or even like. Dead weight, essentially.
I found it particularly interesting that she even has a ritual of greeting a client's house upon arrival. It sounds very intentional and mindful.
Yes, she draws a direct connection to Shinto shrine etiquette, suggesting a respectful and mindful approach to the entire tidying process. It's about acknowledging the space that has sheltered you and setting a clear intention for positive change within it. This mindful approach really sets the tone for the entire process for you.
And she beautifully reframes the act of letting go, doesn't she? Letting go of items that no longer spark joy for us. It's not about wastefulness.
No, quite the opposite. She frames it as a way to celebrate their past service in our lives, to thank them,
Thank them.
Yeah, thank the item for the role it played, and then release it to a new purpose, rather than viewing discarding as a wasteful act. It's a powerful perspective shift that helps to alleviate any guilt you might feel.
Mm.
She encourages gratitude for the item's role in your past and the belief that by letting it go, you're freeing it up to potentially bring joy or utility to someone else, or simply to return to the earth.
She even touches on unexpected physical effects some people experience, like weight loss.
Yeah, she mentions that, suggesting that a detox for your house can sometimes have a corresponding detox effect on your body and mind. Less stress, maybe. More energy.
That's a fascinating connection, and apparently she's developed such a keen sense over the years that she can even discern which items don't spark joy in her clients simply by observing them.
So she says, noting a certain vibrant aura or energy surrounding cherished possessions.
Yeah.
She describes how items that are truly loved seem to radiate a certain positive energy, while those that don't bring joy appear somehow dull or lifeless. It sounds a bit mystical, maybe?
A little.
But maybe it's just reading body language. She even shares a personal example of her deep attachment to a particular t-shirt, a Kick-A-Road t-shirt from an expo mascot.
Okay.
Something she holds on to purely for the joy it brings her, regardless of anyone else's opinion or its practicality. It's a powerful reminder for you to trust your own feelings about your belongings.
So, the ultimate message for us, wrapping this up, is that a life lived surrounded only by things you genuinely love is, perhaps, the greatest source of happiness.
Or at least contentment.
And the KonMari method offers a practical and maybe profound path to achieving that contentment. Her concluding words in the book are incredibly impactful. Your real life begins after putting your house in order.
Yeah.
It suggests that tidying isn't the end goal, is it? But rather the essential first step towards a more fulfilling existence.
That statement really encapsulates the core promise of the KonMari method for you.
Hmm.
That tidying is not just about decluttering your physical space. It's about intentionally clearing the way, mentally, emotionally, physically, for a more joyful, purposeful, and truly authentic life to begin.
So as you, our listener, look around your own space right now, really consider that spark joy question when you pick something up. It might seem a little abstract or silly at first, but it's potentially a powerful tool for identifying what truly resonates with you at this point in your life.
And think about tackling your tidying by category, like she insists. Gathering all similar items together so you can truly understand the volume you possess and make those thoughtful decisions.
Right.
This deep dive into Marie Kondo's method has hopefully provided you with a fresh perspective on why maybe previous tidying attempts have fallen short, and offered a clearer, more joy-focused path toward achieving lasting order and creating a home that truly supports the lifestyle you desire.
And on that note, we leave you with this final, perhaps provocative thought to mull over. What could you learn about yourself, your values, your attachments, maybe even your aspirations by mindfully deciding what to keep and what to consciously let go?
Something to think about.
We encourage you to explore that question in your own life. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us.